Hello students, welcome to another lesson presented by the Learning Depot. In today's lesson, we are going to learn how to reduce adjective clauses. Today's lesson is going to be an introduction to reducing adjective clauses. I'm going to show you an easy way to reduce the adjective clause. We'll get into a more advanced version in a later video. Let's begin. In a previous lesson, you learned that an adjective clause, also known as an adjectival or a relative clause, is a dependent clause that modifies a noun or a pronoun. In effect, this clause functions as one part of speech, the adjective. Now, one thing that is important that you remember is that the adjective clause begins with a relative pronoun, and you must be able to identify the relative pronoun. Mainly that, which, who, whom, and whose. If you are able to identify the relative pronoun, you should be able to identify the adjective clause and reduce it to an adjective phrase. When reducing most adjective clauses, you are going to look for the relative pronoun and you're going to see if it is followed by a verb. Because in this case, that relative pronoun is acting as the subject of that clause, and that subject will have a verb following it. Now, if the verb is a form of the verb be, then we can reduce that clause. By contrast, let's look at the second sentence. You are going to look for the relative pronoun that is not followed by a verb. It is followed by a noun, boy, the boy. In this case, we cannot reduce this clause. Let's do another example. I like the song that was playing on the radio last night. Remember, the first thing we need to do is identify the adjective clause. Can you find it? That was playing on the radio last night. Can we find the relative pronoun? Correct, it is that. Is it followed by a be verb? Yes, it is. The verb is was. Therefore, we can remove the relative pronoun, that, and the verb was, and we have reduced the adjective clause to an adjective phrase. I liked the song playing on the radio last night. Remember, we can reduce these adjective clauses because the relative pronoun is acting as the subject of the clause and is followed by a form of the verb be. Let's do another example. The rules which were passed by the board take effect at midnight. Can we find the adjective clause? That is correct, which were passed by the board. Can we identify the relative pronoun? That is correct, which. Is the relative pronoun followed by a be verb? It is. It is followed by were, which is the past tense of was, a form of the verb be. Therefore, we can remove the relative pronoun and we can remove the verb. And now we have reduced the clause to a phrase. The rules passed by the board take effect at midnight. Let's go on to another example. The branches that were blown by the wind were scattered across the lawn. Remember, first identify the adjective clause. That is correct. That were blown by the wind. Can you find the relative pronoun? Correct, that. Is it followed by a form of the verb be? Yes, it is. Therefore, we can remove that and were And now we have reduced the clause to a phrase, to an adjective phrase. And we have a new sentence. The branches blown by the wind were scattered across the lawn. Now you will have a chance to practice based on what we learned in the lesson today. Remember to find the relative pronoun and then ask yourself, is it followed by a form of the be verb? If it is, you can probably reduce that clause. How did you do? Go back and review the parts of the lesson that you did not understand, and stay tuned for the next lesson where we are going to look at reducing more adjective clauses. And if you learned something in this lesson, please remember to subscribe and hit the like button. Also, don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you will be notified every time I upload a new video. I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next lesson. Bye-bye. What are you doing? Are you ready for Easter? Are you ready for Easter, Minnie? Yes, you are. Yes, you are, little Minnie.